Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome to the Afternoon Pint. I'm Mike Dobin.
I am Matt Conrad.
And who's with us today?
I'm Matt Thomson.
Matt Thomson. Hey, you might hear a little
Sparky
puppy in the background.
Yeah.
We're at Garrison Brewing, and there's
Oxford Tap Room.
Our Oxford Tap Room, with Garrison. And the doggo just left, so I think I might get a little... Don't think we'll hear him again.
Might get more quiet now.
Yeah.
So, I just, right off the bat, I have to just address the one thing that right away. Matt, you had a light beer, you get the tall ship. What did you get? Yours is like an amber color.
Garrison red.
So it's red, okay. And I got the Moo, like the nitro stout.
Can we put those next to each
other? Well, this is exactly, as soon as we cheers, like one of these is, when I see an image like this on social media, cold glasses, the 3 different colors with a beer, I never want to drink a beer more ever than when I see the
Instant
3 different
salivating.
the 3 different colors of beers, all that. I'm just like, I want to go get a flight right now. And that's all I thought about when we cheers right there. So just had to get that out of the way.
So, Matt, you had ADHD. Tell us about it. We don't know anything about that stuff.
We don't know anything about that.
Welcome back to Squirrel. Yes, this is
kind of a fun show. So, really quick, I met you yesterday at the NSFM event, and I was there for work, and we just ended up having a chat on our break or whatever, and come to learn that I recognize your TEDx talk. You just recently spoke at TEDx Halifax, and that was an excellent talk, by the way. And
it was awesome.
We're going to get into that. I showed it to you, and you said, I showed you his response, right, in real time. He was pretty impressed by it. So we're both really happy to have you here. And I think, given that you're diagnosed ADHD, and Matt and I are also in that very same club. He's the most recent in the ADHD.
I'm the most recent,
officially diagnosed club. So congratulations,
I actually
Matt.
think instead of the TV, they're like a show, it could be like, oh yeah. That could actually be like a ... Oh yeah! Exclamation mark. Could be another show.
So you might just be the perfect guest for today. So thanks so much for coming by. But I wanted to maybe let you talk a little bit on your show, or like what was your TEDx about, and I guess what got you there.
Well, now I'm just thinking about, and I'm thinking at the end of this episode, we're going to have 17 different threads that this media empire that you two are building is going to go down, and maybe we'll get some content.
Or the Kool-Aid man will just break through the brick wall behind you.
My wife sent me a meme that simply said, I was supposed to clean the toilet, but I started a company instead.
I was telling Mike yesterday, I was like, for the last couple of years, the running joke in the home is, we're not starting any new companies this year. That's what we're trying for. All right. So I'm going to set the bar low here and say y'all have been very complimentary of the TED Talk. It took me 36 years to kind of build towards that. It took me 3 months to write it collaboratively, and I've had 24 hours since that conversation to prepare for today. So set the bar low and don't expect any gems other than that. I guess the background for the TED Talk, kind of funnily enough, the way that I describe it to people, it's kind of a whimsical look at stress, suicide, and the meaning of life.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of how I try to approach it. Because it deals with some heavy issues. It deals with the stress that we all live under, what the society places upon us in this day and age. But also it's kind of it's built on the background or the backing of my journey through life as feeling like I was letting everybody down around me and trying to overcompensate by being a codependent people pleaser, and realizing that what really matters is the seeds that you're planting each and every day, and where you are right now in the present.
So Matt, your old approach was kind of the hustle lifestyle, if you agree, push, go, work so hard, like you were living that lifestyle, correct?
Yes, the only correction I'd make to that is the old lifestyle, as though I've moved beyond that. It's a constant journey to remind yourself not to.
You're still there.
Yeah.
But you're kind of your new philosophy, I guess, in a sense here. It's like to lead courageously towards love, right? What does that look like on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. when stuff needs to get done?
Well, that was There was a life-changing moment when I came to that realization. I was actually on a retreat at a location that's now called Asitulisk. At the time, it was Windhorse Farms in New Germany, in the middle of Nova Scotia. And I was working with my business coach and some other folks at the time on identifying our own values and purpose in life, and going through some iterations, going through some processes. You're writing your own eulogy. You're thinking about everything that's kind of built you up into what you are in that moment. I came to this realization that something that has always sparked, inspired, and really motivated me was to lead courageously toward love. And what does that actually mean, to your point? Well, I really had to, I studied English and history in university, and so I really want to get into the etymology of the words themselves, because I for a long time ran away from love. I didn't tell people I loved them for a very long time, and I always felt ashamed of even using the word courage when I was talking about myself. But what I realized in looking into courage is the two definitions of courage really, really strike a chord with me. One of its roots is courage, cœur, living of the heart. And the other is the opposite. The opposite of courage is not cowardice, but complacency in its original word. So to answer your question about on a Tuesday, it's doing something. It's not leaning away from the hard thing. It's having the courage to act, and having the courage to act authentically, which for me is acting in a loving manner, which can sometimes feel really vulnerable, because the concept of love is sometimes challenging for some folks, and everybody has their own kind of unique relationship with it. I certainly did growing up, and for me, it's just creating a space where hopefully everybody can feel seen, heard, and to me, that's a really powerful act of love.
That's great, man. How would you describe love now?
In life?
Yeah.
Probably in that way, the way actually I was. If we really want to get into it, when I was in therapy yesterday, I was talking about some of the recent podcasts I was listening to and some of the journaling I was doing, and the way that I describe love now is the opportunity to have light shone on the deepest, darkest parts of yourself and accept it. And I think that's something for me that I'm experiencing now for maybe even the first time individually from a self-love perspective, and also I'm lucky enough to experience that in my relationship as well.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. It's interesting that you must find it strange, because when you go up there and you have TED Talks and you kind of become a subject matter expert, people kind of look at you as a subject matter expert. How do you kind of reconcile with the fact that you say that it's still a work in progress, it's still a journey I'm going on, and yet you have people who are coming to you for that expertise, guidance?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. It's for a long time I kind of shied away from it, but I think the approach that I take now is the opportunity to ask questions. I'd love to know what your definitions of love are, because I think that there's there's another definition of love is just living our everyday life and seeing ourselves in others. There's so much, because when I shine light on the deepest, darkest parts of myself to love myself, the same is true from a universal perspective for others as well, right? So I like to think that there's just interconnectedness of us all, and if I can create a space where people can realize that I am literally just an authentic, living, breathing, flawed human being in the same way that they are, then maybe they can take some of that shine off, but recognize that we're all just trying a human. I'm not the subject matter expert nonsense is not something I'm comfortable with, because I think what it does is it can also create there's so much imposter syndrome out there. Everybody thinks that everybody has everything together. I don't have anything together. I'm still trying, man. The more that you kind of rely on that curated image, the more you're kind of feeding into that narrative that everybody's got things together. But I think if you can say, well, thank you for seeing what I put out there, because it was a lot of work to put that TED Talk together, but also here are all the things that I'm trying and failing at. It can kind of humanize it a little bit more and make it a little bit more accessible.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, for me, when I think about definition of love, I think there's lots of things you can talk about, but in my life, I guess it's like I've always, and you can see, your thoughts on this would be interesting, but is like I always feel, and I think it's biblical, but it's like, to love is to serve has always kind of been a thing for me. I always feel like doing things and trying to leave things better. And sometimes it means doing sometimes hard work, and it sometimes means doing things that people might not understand in the moment, but just trying to do things and invest into something, whether it be your community, your family, those around you, company, whatever. That's just kind of like, for me, that's always been like that. Like,
I think that's how I kind of understand it too. Like, I'm kind of with you on that. Like, there's a certain loyalty, there's a certain perseverance to it, and there's a certain kind of a pushing. Like, you can't give up.
Yeah.
Right. And it's enduring. It's also magnetic. There's great parts about it. There's fun parts about it. There's getting away with each other. There's enjoying a moment with somebody. Yeah. So there's a lot of different things about love, right? Like, it is complex.
Well, everyone has their love language too, right?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think I just more relate. Like my parents have two very different love languages in terms of how they show they care. My mother is someone who likes to give. She's a very generous person. But sometimes sometimes it's like, stop. You don't have to give. Like, you don't have to display your love and here's this, here's that. Dad, I relate more to it, is Dad's the type of guy that will get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go shovel the old lady's driveway and not say anything to anybody and just go back to bed.
Yeah.
Right? And
so it's like gift giving, it's acts of service. Those are the languages. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's so a couple different. I mean, I think a lot of different things. First of all, I appreciate the answers. There's a little bit of like a love is in the eye of the beholder answer that I would give, which is one of the things I've learned is just because there's different love languages, kind of like one of the things that you said is like, well, you don't have to, it's enough gift giving. I'd say, it's not, thanks for that, Mom. But there's also something really beautiful about her, acting in a loving way in the way that she interprets it. And if you can see that service and you can see that action beyond the gift itself, then what a beautiful way to kind of hear I love you. Now, the way that I've had to interpret it is like, my mom used to have a puppet. She used to go to elementary schools, and she had a puppet called the I Care Cat.
Okay.
And the I Care Cat used to say, hands are for helping, not hurting.
Okay.
And that's kind of, the biblical kind of definition that you gave, Matt, is similar to that. But what I had to learn with that is I think there's something beautiful about that act of service, but that doesn't necessarily always have to be outward. It can also be inward. And that's where I'm really trying to challenge myself these days, is to recognize that, there's a fine line, there's a direct correlation between love as an act of service and hustle culture.
Yeah.
If you don't also recognize that you need to be of service to yourself, and you need to be of service to your values, you need to be of service to your love language, and you need to recognize that you can't be giving at the at the expense of everything that you are and everything you have.
I'm interested in your thoughts because we talk about hustle culture and things like that, but it's there's also that fine line of hustling for the life that you want, which could be the end game being, the financial freedom for your family, and hopefully, you can get wrapped up and obsessed with it, and then you get lost in it. But I mean, I hope at some point you can get to a point where all of us can get to a point where you've made enough money where you're financially free, and then you can start really choosing to slow down. There's also that, how any thoughts on how you balance that? And
I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just still trying to figure it out. But I think you mentioned one point, kind of, you don't want to lose yourself to it.
Yeah.
I think that what we need to be really careful of these days is making sure that we're doing it for us and for the right reasons, and not just because it's what we see, or it's because what we see promoted, or it's because it's the noise that's out there.
Yep.
So I think the more that you can live authentically towards whatever it is that, if that's where your values are, and if that's what you want to live towards, and you want to be able to have that financial freedom, then go out and do that, and that's awesome. Then then you're not hustling for others or for the projection of self. You're doing it for yourself, and that's an act of self-love right there.
Yeah.
But I feel, at least for me, there's a lot of well, what am I actually doing this for?
Right.
Am I just doing this for because I feel like I have to, because I feel like that's how I'm of value, or because I'm doing it for other people? So a lot of it just comes back to that introspection, that self-reflection, to be like, well, what am I doing this for? Like, how can I actually, truly feel like fulfilled and challenged and whatnot? Maybe that is through hustle culture, and maybe that is through starting a record label. Like,
something you just said there makes me think too. I think if you go living a life of doing everything for everyone else, you might eventually start to resent that a little bit about yourself, right? And then you might start putting that guilt on others. It's like, well, I did all this for you, right?
That's a valid point.
You know,
yeah.
And so to your point, right? Well,
and then you expect them to be like, can you acknowledge that?
Yeah. And then you almost like, well, that person, you've done that for them, and you've given yourself of that part to them, but they might have not even asked for that, right?
I think that's a huge.
It's just like it gets confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and being diagnosed with ADHD this year through
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I've learned that is a kind of a component of the ADHD. Is for a long time, like for the last 20 years, I'm 40 years old. Since I've been about 19, 20 years old, I've been doing a lot of volunteer work. And again, that kind of goes back to that love is to serve. Like, I want to be involved in my community. I want to do that stuff. But at one point, I was sitting on, like, no joke, like 4 boards. And, sitting on these boards, sitting on these things that get done. And over my time, I probably sat on, like, 8. And a lot of it was, like, I struggle to say no, because I feel like if I'm saying no, then I'm, like, letting, my community down or whatever it may be. But then it just got to a point where it's like, oh, my, I just can't do this. And I had to scale way, way, way back, right? But there's something about what you were saying about how the expectation is there, trying to, that pleasing and all that, it totally resonates with me, because at some point I think I got burnt out with volunteering. Yeah.
And boards are relentless, though.
They can be.
They'll take as much as you can give. Yeah.
Well, we can get into the nonprofit sector and why and what that is and the challenges that are faced. But I think what's really interesting about the hustle culture piece there is that, like, it comes back to, like, are you losing yourself? Because if you find yourself in a place where you're creating animosity and resentment because you feel like you're doing things for others, but you're not doing it for yourself because you don't even have this space to hear yourself think. To hear your own voice. Like for me, it's less a matter of serving on boards, but I'm at my best when I'm not ingesting a ton of content, when I'm holding space for myself to actually be bored and think and hear my own voice. Like there's this Jimmy Carr quote where he talks about, he's a comedian, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Great comedian.
Great.
Yeah.
And
we saw him live there last year.
Oh, did you?
We just saw him live. Yeah.
So he does this, like, I'm a big podcast Jimmy Carr fan, because I think he's a really deep thinker. And one of the things he talks about is trying to figure out. He started to write a class so that comedy could be taught in schools, which many comedians feel like you can't do that, you either have it or you don't. But what he realized in writing that class was all he was doing was creating a vessel in which people can get to know their own authentic voice, because that is that's where the funny comes from. And his biggest fear is that there are so many people in this world that will live and die without actually hearing their own voice.
I've done comedy classes before, and they're more like AA meetings. Like, they're not funny, dude. Like, they're funny, but, like, what you're trying to do is, like, everyone first has to kind of let themselves know, write a little bit about themselves, share about themselves.
Strip away all of that.
And it starts with Luann, who's never laughed in 20 years since her cat died, right? Like, and it goes, but seriously, though, it goes and it goes deeper and darker, and you're like, holy frig, right? Like, what's up? There's a lot wrong with everybody in this room, you're thinking, right? At the beginning, and yourself. And then all of a sudden, you start finding the humor in that, making other people laugh with that, and then it is a really cool way. I think comedy and comedy classes should certainly be taught in schools. I think that's a great thing.
If you can, you just need to realize what you're not teaching knock jokes too.
No.
Yeah, I think comedy needs to be taught sometimes, just so people understand it, and it can actually be endearment and love towards one another, and it's not necessarily hate.
Actually, Jimmy Carr actually is someone who talks about that, because Jimmy Carr does a lot of like charity comedy shows at hospitals where people are terminal.
Yeah.
And he's a dark humor guy, and he makes a lot of dark humor jokes, particularly at these people who are dying. Like, he makes jokes about them and everything. He's like, oh, it's great to see that a couple faces returned this year, kind of thing, things like that, right? Like, he's pretty dark and pretty, but the thing is that he does it because it's making those people laugh. And they, the saying goes, laughter is the best medicine, right?
Yeah.
And I think there is something to be said. I think people who have a dark sense of humor, maybe I'm biased because I do, but I think people who have a dark sense of humor are more mentally equipped to handle really messed up things in their life because of that.
Sure.
I mean,
my partner, she's a nurse, and like she has a crazy sick sense of humor, and they all do, and so do paramedics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they all have really disturbing senses of humor, and police. You'll find like a lot of people in those industries that see some of the most horrifying stuff usually got the most warped sense of humor you ever seen.
Well, what's interesting with that is just like the concept of like, I think laughter is also like universal.
Yeah.
And it's such a universal language where if we can strip away, there are things that we will all deal with in life, right? Mm-hmm. And some of those are beautiful and some of those are terrible, but there's something universal about that. And if you can find the laughter and the joy, the humor in that, what a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the thing. And for me, like, I'm someone who's like, nothing's really off limits, right? And I know.
I know,
yeah, but like nothing's really off limits for me, and I'll like as long as it's delivered in the right way, and there's
if you know that person likes the other person, like for me, if it's good intentions, I mean, I'm all for anything. Right?
That's the thing. I think it all comes down to intentions and things like that. Like I listened to your TED talk. I know you've had you had a close friend who ended up taking their own life, and I had a close cousin who did the same back in 2008, and I had another cousin who unsuccessfully attempted that as well, and I am on my serious side, take that stuff very seriously, and I try to make sure that I'm there for people, and I've had those moments where I've had to like kind of haul people off to the side and be like, you good, calm down, kind of like, let's talk, whatever, right? But at the same time, I will probably laugh at a joke about suicide because I just think like that, like darkness in my brain helps me with having to cope with the real life things of those things too.
Yeah, well, it's well, first of all, sorry you had to go through that. I think there are so many of us that have, right?
Yeah.
For whether it's close friends or acquaintances or colleagues or family members, right? But there, even sometimes joking about it is something that's helpful. Like I always say, like I say in the TED Talk, I found myself reading this book after Kinger died. He was my buddy, called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. Which was this book by this Australian palliative care nurse who put 30 years of having conversations with patients that were going through palliative care and compiled it into these 5 regrets. And the reason I got to that point was because King always said he wanted to live a life of no regrets. And those of us who knew him knew that if anybody should have regrets, it was that idiot, because he did like there were so many things that he should not have done that he did. And I joke about that because in life, he brought so much joy, he brought so much humor, he brought so much like nonsensical ridiculousness, and we're talking about universal truths earlier, like. The fact is, like, it was terrible and sad what has happened, and also in life he was one of the most like jovial humans, and it's important to kind of keep that alive through that laughter as well.
What were some of the points in the book, if you can kind of give us a couple takeaways from that book you read?
Oh, the points. Well, I mean, so as far as a takeaway is concerned, the wildest part for me was how like platitudes are sometimes real. Like the things that you hear as a kid growing up, like if I were to give you 10 guesses, you'd probably get 4 of the 5 top regrets. And that really got me thinking, because I was like, well, like if we know these things, why do they keep happening? Like I wish I hadn't worked so hard.
Right.
Like those types of things, right? I wish I'd stay closer with my friends. Like you guys have this beautiful thing where you're connected through work, you're connected through podcasts, you're connected through all these boards, and you're probably sick of each other at this point. But
but
funny enough,
not really. No, but like I mean, you do miss other friends though. You miss other connections. Like I got friends all the time that I feel guilty about.
Yes.
I was telling you one that I'll tell everybody here because I think it's a really good example. I was invited to something this Saturday, And I think you know what I'm like. I like friends in a small group setting, and as soon as it gets too big, I'm like, bail.
Yeah.
But I never really knew why that was. I just thought it was grouchy. And, realizing
it is that too.
That's a little bit, well, there's a little bit to do with anxiety. And I didn't really know about that about myself until this year. Doctor diagnosed it, and I didn't even believe it because I didn't think I could have anxiety because I'm like, I do all this crazy shit. What are you talking about? Like, I felt that I've always kind of ran into things almost fearlessly. I've been on stage as a comedian, as a rapper, as so many different variations and versions of myself. I'm like, I don't have anxiety. But I mean, I always get sickness and uncomfortableness when I had to do something, I always dreaded it when it wasn't just those core people that I trusted and it was a bunch of new faces, right? And I'd have to interact with people on a more private level and blend my private life into my public life, you know what I mean?
So I was feeling anxious about that.
100%. Yeah. So like super anxious. But the point that I just want to do it, right? So a friend of mine that I was going to go see this weekend because he was like kind of piling more and more invites onto his get together this Saturday. Where I bailed. I called him up the next day, say, hey man, I'm sorry, and I want to let you know I'm going to come up Saturday night, and this is why I was kind of bailing, and I apologize, but I'm going to see. I haven't seen you in a long time. I want to see your new house. So like that's such a beautiful story because it's an act of love, it's an act of like self-awareness, but you're also one of the 5 regrets was I wish I'd stayed in closer touch with my friends. Right. So I think that what to answer your original question on like the takeaways from that, like the one that I talk about in the TED Talk is I wish I'd live a life that was true to myself and not the life others expected of me. Mm-hmm. And that one really hit home for me in a big way. And we've gotten through 3 of the 5, but essentially what my biggest takeaway was if these are universal platitudes that we've all kind of heard or inherently know and could probably guess, then what better way to honor those that have lived their life with those regrets than by making sure that we don't. And that we don't end our life with those. Maybe we'll have different regrets. I hope to God I have different regrets. My top 5 regrets are going to be very different than those 5. But we owe it to those. Like what a beautiful act of love towards those lives that were lost with those regrets in their hearts by being like, you know what, I'm gonna learn from that. Yeah.
And you did that.
Yeah, thanks.
You reached out to that friend. It's what a beautiful act.
Yeah.
No, it's true. And the friends too, especially, we work, we have families, right? And we're, Mike and I are trying to get this thing like kind of growing constantly kind of thing. Friends do kind of fall in a little bit of the wayside. And I get a little bit guilty. I feel guilty about that sometimes where sometimes when we're doing things, I'll try to like invite a friend. So I'm just kind of like, hey man, you want to come along with this? It's like, that's just me saying like, I have to do this thing, but also I'd like to see you and hang out with you. So you want to like come along kind of thing? Try to do it, right? But yeah, there's people who I would see a lot more often that I don't because we got this to do. I have a family that I obviously want to spend as much time with. And we work.
Your love language is the third wheel. Let's invite somebody to be the third wheel. But here's like with regards to like calls to action. Like how cool would it be? Is it like here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave this podcast. I'm gonna reach out to somebody I haven't talked to in a couple weeks just to say, hey, thinking about you, man.
Yeah.
And you do it. Like just
true.
do it. Like that kind of like random beautiful message that you hear from somebody, like that can really change somebody. You have no idea the level of impact they can have.
Someone in literally probably in the last year and a half, 2 years that has become like a low key kind of person I look up to is Adam Sandler. Obviously I've always liked him. He's always been funny, some of the funniest movies ever. But behind the scenes,
did he buy you a sports car, by the way? Because
No.
Seriously,
you got to get in a movie or two first.
The thing is that guy makes movies. He does what I would like to do if I was in his situation, which is like he brings his family on set. He puts them in the movies. Like he puts his daughters and his wife in the movies, gives them a part, makes sure his friends are always working, things like that. Like checks in them all the time. I think it's like, man, that's a real person in Hollywood. In a world full of fake people, that guy seems like he's 100% real.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
As somebody who watched Happy Gilmore 1 and 2 with my kids this year, I agree.
I thought 2 wasn't so bad, man. I just appreciated seeing his character continue, like what happened to him. I was just really didn't like what they did with his wife.
Yeah, we both didn't like that. I didn't like how they killed her.
I was like, what the? Like,
it was shocking.
It was shocking.
Yes.
Yeah, I did.
10 minutes in.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm also watching that show she's on with Andrea, where that's like our bedtime show right now.
Oh, you started watching Modern Family.
Modern Family. So we never started watching it till this year, and so like I thought she was a pretty popular character, right? To kind of kill off so quick, I was like, oof, yeah, I didn't see that coming. But what do I know?
Creative liberties.
Yeah. So we got to go back to you, Matt, because we've been going all over the place, which is awesome. Actually, I love this. So, like, what do you do for a living, man?
I have interesting conversations with interesting people.
Yeah. So, like, you were in the corporate world, right?
Yep.
Stepped away from it because of a lot of the reasons I think people could probably put that together from everything we just talked about. But, what's the business that you started? What are you doing now?
Yeah, so 8 years ago, kind of stepped away from the corporate world because of hustle culture, because a lot of the stuff we talked about, and it's been a journey ever since. But stepped into wanted to set my own hours, so started my own business because that's easy, right? It's that way.
You don't work more hours that way.
What are you talking about? Not like I had 2 kids and third on the way, and
gosh,
quit the job. But essentially, like what it boils down to is there was a couple different kind of things that came to fruition. The first was there was this thing called the Ivany Report that came out in Nova Scotia. And it was all doom and gloom. Yeah. People are coming to Nova Scotia to retire and die. Like, nothing is going to happen. I had just moved back to Nova Scotia with my wife to start my family. And we're seeing this, and it was all doom and gloom. And we're like, well, like, again, courage. Like the opposite of courage is not cowardice, it's complacency. So what can we do to address some of these things? And we recognize that there's an opportunity to, if people are leaving Nova Scotia because they didn't see opportunities, well, let's create something where people can see opportunities. And so we started work with employers on being able to kind of align them with talent and seeing if we could kind of attract and retain folks into organizations. And we realized, having gone through the processes ourselves, that oftentimes when organizations are hiring, it can feel very transactional. It can feel very chuck a resume at a wall to see what sticks. And we recognize that, like, holding space for people to feel seen and heard, where you can be seen as a person, and as opposed to just what you've done, or as opposed to just words on a page, really made a big difference. So we started working with organizations on revamping. We do mindfulness exercises as part of a pre-screen when we're doing interviews, to be able to have folks be like, listen, there's data out there that says like a quarter of the people would rather have root canals than go through a job interview. Like, well, that's a low bar. Sure. Like, we can do better than a root canal. Like, we can probably do better than that. So we recognize that, if you can just have a conversation like you folks do on a regular basis in this podcast format, where you can just say, I'm genuinely interested in who you are, then you can break down a lot of those barriers, a lot of those walls, a lot of those things that people try to project and say that I've done this, and they may not be right for the job. You can actually have a real authentic connection. So we started doing that, and we've been doing that for about 8 years or so, and recognize that working with organizations through that and being able to help kind of create not only the environment that helps bring people in the door, but also helps support them once their employees are through the door. So we do things like workshops, like organizational culture work. There's a lot of speaking that we do as an organization, just kind of built around creating environments where people want to be and people want to stay. So PlaceMaking 4G has had the privilege of working with with nonprofits, or not nonprofits, with First Nations, with municipalities, with associations, with colleges, with for-profits, nonprofits, everybody in between, across Atlantic Canada and across the country, as we've built up this kind of trying to take a more humanized approach to the work that we do.
I mean, there's two sides of me when I hear that, and I mean, it just hopefully that other people can hear this too for themselves. So one part of me really leans into that. I understand mindfulness, something I've really been focusing on this year and last year, but this is very recent. 2 years ago, Mike, would have been like, that sounds like a bunch of hippie, baloney, and I'm not interested in sitting there and getting to know you intimately, right? I'm here to work. So you must see that in other people in some sense, like even maybe on a more executive level, or how do you feel, how do people normally react to this? Because I'm sure not everybody reacts holistically to it.
Like senior financial roles.
Yeah.
And even, we're talking about, within that context, but also, a couple weeks ago is doing work with organizations across Atlantic Canada that are looking to build and grow their export businesses. And we did a 6-minute long mindfulness exercise. So, to answer your question, it's across the spectrum to who's doing it. Less resistance than you would think, but I think a lot of that comes from, it's not forced. It's like it's something that's a big part of my life, even just as far as like we always make sure that people understand who we are first. So I'm saying if I'm let's say I'm leading an interview with you, you're going to get an introduction video to me before we ever meet. You're going to get to know me. You're going to get to know who I am, what this process is all about, and you might be able to say, well, this is going to be a bit of an interesting experience, but here we go. And a quote that I often use from Oprah is, when you start in stillness, everything that comes from that flows from a place of power and not from a frenzied state.
Damn, Oprah.
Right?
That's pretty good, yeah.
And so like oftentimes
she's pretty successful.
She's doing okay. She's doing all right.
Yeah. I think. Do we have a podcast sponsor?
If she wants a spot, we'll see if we can fit her in. Yeah,
we'll fit on the O Network. Yeah. But essentially, what that does is it it just creates a space where we can be like still for a moment and then like hear our inner voice, even if it's just at the beginning of an interview process where all you're doing is you're taking a couple deep breaths. Maybe you're buying into the process, maybe you're not, but you're calm. You can maybe feel your shoulders relax a little bit, and then you can actually speak authentically and not pre-rehearse lines and not try to project. So I'm sure that there's different depths of impact that it has on folks, but it's probably the number one piece of feedback that we get back is how important that process was on that person's journey.
Do you think corporate life sometimes pushes people not to be authentic? Because there's a lot of how do I say, ways you're supposed to act, like, ways you're supposed to behave. You might not be supposed to say that question to that person or make that criticism to that executive or whatever, right? So it gets challenging because as soon as you kind of let the creature out of the box, so to speak, it can do wild things, right? Like, so it's like,
and some people don't know how to get over that.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like, you have people who
maybe get hurt by that.
Hurt by it, but also some people who just like, once you've burned an image of who you are in their brain,
that's it. That's all you ever are.
And if it's someone who's above you, however many degrees, that can be a problem.
Absolutely.
I had that happen to me. Literally, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday who came up to me and was like, man, I watched your TED Talk and I did not expect to feel so emotional. He's like, I had this image of you where this was not at all what I was expecting. and so in that case, I like to think it was a positive change that like I do have the depth of emotion to be able to bring that out. But dude, it's such an interesting question, Mike, because like, one of the things that used to give me, you were talking about anxiety, used to give me the most anxiety is like, oh, so you run a firm that does, organizational culture work and like helps organizations with recruitment and stuff. So what's your advice going into job interviews? And I always preface it by saying, I can only provide you with advice based on what I know about the processes that we run.
Right.
Because I don't want to set you up for failure in saying it's like universally what happens out there.
Right.
So I think it's really important because, you have to feel safe to be able to feel authentic, and safety is different for everybody. And psychological safety is not something that happens everywhere in the corporate world, but there is movement. So for instance, there's this big shift that we've been talking about it for 8 years, and there's articles in Forbes dating back to the early 2010s. And now people are really starting to adopt it, is like this movement from fit to contribution, or from fit to alignment.
Yeah.
And that's an indication that essentially asking somebody to fit something is asking them to change who they are in order to fit your vision of what culture should be, and then you end up with a very transactional relationship.
Yeah.
And so there's movement, maybe not as fast as I'd like to see it at like the corporate level. Where there is progress that's being made, and it's important to celebrate that. And could it be better? Absolutely. Can everybody go out and be like authentically their full selves in every space? If they feel safe in doing so, then absolutely. And if not, then no. Put up those fences to protect yourself if that's the case. But what's important to know is that there are people like yourself, like what we're doing, that are looking to kind of push that culture forward to allow for those more, big ships turn slowly type of environments, to be able to allow for folks to truly feel safe being authentic.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the things that I've come to realize is in my kind of working life is, I've always originally kind of had, like, for a long time I had this mentality is like, okay, well, I want to, rise up to the top. I want to be, the VP of something someday or whatever. And I think if I self-reflect more and more, like, would I really truly like doing that job? Maybe, I don't know. But I think my driving factor is that the higher you go up, the bigger your umbrella is of who you can affect within the workplace. And a big part of why I like being a manager is I like to be able to create a positive workplace. And, like, you have more control, obviously, when you have a team. And then the higher you can go up, you have, you can affect more people and how that goes. So that's the thing, is like, I find myself now in a situation where it's like, I'd like to be the VP because I want to instill my mentality on how people should be coming to the workplace, but I don't necessarily want to do all the other stuff. I don't necessarily want to be too close to the sun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. I mean, the other thing though, it's like, I can't help but think that, like, with work culture, we still, with larger corporations, have a thing where it's like, kind of keep your head down, right? How do you be successful? Keep your head down, do the work, right? While the ones that are successful are not doing that.
Well, first of all, I haven't had a real job in many years, so I don't know how accurate. And I'm probably more prone to be the Icarus flying too close to the sun, as you mentioned. I think that there is, but I think that honestly, a lot of this just comes down to, like, if we just break down one wall here and say that, I don't even know if it's like corporate versus not, or like, I think a lot of it is just like the way that systems are designed right now. There's systems that are designed to help promote this like weird facade. And instead of, as you mentioned, like, if we can have leaders emerge with curiosity, where, like, even, I'd be curious to know, like, maybe it's less about instilling what your vision of what culture can be, but instead of being curious, to being able to ask folks, like, hey, what do you want to see in this workplace? To being able to help, lean into a little bit more co-creation, a little bit more collaboration, as opposed to what these systems that have been built tend to promote. I think that can go a really long way. And there are some really good examples of that too, even just within this province. Like, there's some really fantastic organizations and leaders that are able to kind of create this sense of safety and evolution and growth as we're evolving, and this, like, this tired old kind of sense of, like, this doom and gloom kind of corporate job, I think, is going away. But again, I haven't had a real job in a few years, so you might want to ask somebody who has.
No, I think jobs are getting more creative, and there's more nuance, and there's certainly some nuance to the role that I have now. I mean, I appreciate it. Like, my professional job is, I actually love my job right now, right?
Because you get to create authentic relationships with your client base, right?
And I kind of get to work in my own way a little bit, right? Which I really like, right? I don't like being put into systems, but, which, great segue, AI, is going to take a lot of those systems and those difficult things. We talk about positively and negatively about AI, but I think it's a great time to talk about this now. In your role, how do you see AI playing into this future?
Oh man, well, playing into the future of, like, everything, really. The future of work. First of all, it's a nuanced conversation, because even, like, so I use AI quite a bit, and I also recognize that I have to, you almost want to think about how you can have, like, carbon offset credits for the amount of energy that it takes for for things to process. Like, I was at an event the other day where they were talking about how the server farms in the U.S. Have more energy consumption than a small European country, and that small European country is Germany.
Whoa, that's gross.
So, and that's just so it's like, there's duality of things.
It's a whole new problem.
It's wild, and then with that, you're getting, are there clean energy sources? Are there different ways to kind of power?
I don't think people realize that. like, I honestly don't think people realize how much more energy it takes. I think people just generally think like it's all just the internet.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's like, AI is using 10 times the amount of energy than a simple Google search.
To make an image of you on a unicorn,
It's using so much energy, and I think that is one of the handful of reasons of why I am not afraid of AI. What about you? You worried? What worries you about AI, if anything?
I mean, a lot worries me, but I mean, like, I'll start with the positives and say that I actually have so AI has really helped me do things like sometimes I really have to talk through my thoughts before I can get to a cohesive answer, as many of your listeners can say as they're skipping through to be like, what's he actually trying to say here? But sometimes before I talk to my team, before I if I'm trying to deal with a complex thought, I'll talk through it with my ChatGPT agent, and it'll help me kind of cohesively condense what it is I'm trying to say in a way that I can communicate it clearly to my team or to whoever I'm working with, and that really helps. I think it in that way it helps improve our communication. I think there's an opportunity for AI in many different ways to be able to take a lot of the administrative functions away from the work that we do, so that we can hold more space for each other to actually communicate authentically and take some of those some of the paperwork off of our plates and whatnot, which I think is fantastic. And that's where we are now. Like, who knows where we're going to be in 1 month, let alone a year, let alone 10 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, what frightens me, I don't know, The Matrix. Great movie. Like, hey, well, let's use a segue. Okay, so let's thought experiment. So right now, server farms in the U.S. use more energy than Germany. In The Matrix, they figured out what a great battery source was, right? What a great energy source.
The human mind.
The humans. Yeah.
So I mean, I think we're all living through this time of like wild and rapid change, and I think it's important for us to approach it with curiosity, with like a healthy dose of skepticism, but also I feel in the same way that I take a whimsical approach to stress, suicide, and the meaning of life, I think you can also take a whimsical approach to, all right, so let's figure out like where's the good in this, because I think there's some pretty good stuff that can happen with this. It's not necessarily all doom and gloom, and I say that as somebody who couldn't code to save his life. So maybe we're way further along and down the rabbit hole than I might actually know.
I was reading this morning, Elon Musk's plan is to build 1 million robots right now. 1 million.
He just became a trillionaire.
I just became a trillionaire on that 10-year plan. Yeah. But like with the caveat of building 1 million robots. Yeah. Human service robots. Like, what the? Like, that's crazy.
I mean, I don't know. What would you like? Okay, so here's a question. So take a moment. You're a trillionaire. What are you going to build?
Oh, absolutely, robots. absolutely. Like, get me the
this is my thing. Like, I don't think trillionaires should exist.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, no.
If someone came to me and was like, "Hey, you have billions of dollars. What are you going to do?" It's like, I'm going to give most of it away.
Yeah.
Like 90% of it. Cool. I'm going to make sure that I'm extremely, extremely good, and then other than that, I'm just going to be like
extremely good.
Well, I'm going to be, you're going to be set for life, generational wealth that my grandkids are good or whatever, all that stuff.
But I mean, in his world, I don't think
you need like $100 million, and you're good for the rest of your life.
You said it right there, though. Like, the definition of extremely, extremely good is almost never good enough, right? Because once you get to an extremely good level,
the hustle.
It was like, the hustle.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
the fight of like, I have to be the richest person on the earth.
I told you about this already. I don't think I had a chance to tell you about this yesterday when we met, but I had recently used ChatGTP because I saw this online. It wasn't my own idea. Did I say it right? ChatGTP? ChatGPT, because Andrea keeps calling me out saying I'm saying it wrong. She's like, you said it wrong like 3 times in your podcast last week. I was like, whoops.
Andrea, he said GPT. We're landing on GPT. We're good.
Okay, we're getting there. But anyways, you can ask, and I encourage anyone listening to try this because it is super cool.
Oh, you told me. I did this, by the way.
You did do it?
The 10-question experiment?
Did you agree that was super cool?
It's very cool.
Okay, where the heck is it?
I have to go back and remember what I wrote down.
And if you want to know of how much I use this thing, it's just like there's a billion things here. I can barely find what I did last week on it. But I guess basically you ask it to 10 questions about yourself, 1 question at a time, to kind of learn who you are like really kind of like deeply inside. I'll put the exact description on the thing if anybody wants it, message us. But anyways, it asks you one question at a time. One of them are in your 10 questions, by the way, because I loved the question. We do 10 questions at the end of this show. So it really puts things in perspectives at the end of your life, what's going to be the most valuable to you. And I mean, for me, long story short, it was like, hopefully Andrea would still be around.
Did it say hopefully?
I said hopefully.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what can happen. I'm just hoping.
Yeah.
And maybe a cat, right? And other than that, I'm kind of good. Like, I don't really want a lot. Like, I would like a little house. I would like it to be comfortable. I'd like to be maybe in nature. That's where I am now. I mean, but there's not really much more that I want or need than I actually have at this given moment, right? I just probably want to hold on to that, right?
How cool is that, though?
Isn't that kind of cool?
Yeah. Like, hopefully Andrew is around. Now that you've got GTP thing sorted, I think we're going to be good. GPT, we're good to go. Andrea's got no reason. But like, like in that case, like, of course, there's so much like complexity and bias and energy consumption and stuff that's coming from this. But if that tool can help you just take a moment's reflection to be like, I think I have what I need right now.
It gave me a whole Northern Star by the end of it. It was unbelievable.
And then you can have that perspective where, like, hopefully what I would challenge you on is to recognize that those answers are just a reflection of your thoughts, and you are not dependent on the AI algorithm to be able to answer the questions for you. And instead, it's something that is echoing back the feelings that you have.
I got to give you the Northern Star that it gave me, because this is from all the things that I wanted to have and be and do, and who really I wanted to be. So I said, and I just as well say this to our listeners, because I mean, I would really, really encourage you to try this. So it's in 10 questions. What could you ask me about myself that even I don't know? Ask me the questions one at a time without telling me the reasons for the questions. And then it does its thing and asks you 10 randos.
Yeah.
And then, so anyways, getting to the bottom of this, I'm not going to go into all my answers here, but the North Star vision, or I'll even boil it down to a North Star phrase. It said, kindness first, creation without fear, and connection always. That's pretty sweet.
See, I didn't get a North Star. I get an insight.
Ask it for a North Star right now.
I will say here, because the insight, it says, for my insight from the question, says, you're someone whose life is guided by love, reflection, and independence. You hold deep emotions and aspirations, yet sometimes practical or self-focused actions are deferred. There's a tension between humility and self-restraint, and the urge to fully express your passions and impact. The lifeline is intentionality. You may not always act immediately, but your choices are deeply aligned with what matters most to you: relationships, purpose, and emotional authenticity.
Yeah, you got like a whole horoscope there.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So, it's like a customized to you. But like in both of in the North Star and in the insight that you just got, like, we've already talked about some of those things, right? Like, that you defer. You like to do service others, but you sometimes defer what you're on. Like those are things that have been covered. So what a wonderful mirror to reflect back what it is that is your essentially North Star, your insight, right?
Yeah.
So in that way, if the tool can allow for us to have like a relatively fearless way to be able to get to know ourselves better, I think that's a good thing, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. I made a joke I was using AI for something else that we'll hopefully be able to bring up next year. But anyways, the project I was using is I asked AI to be sarcastic, give a sarcastic answer to this gentleman who was very critical of it, right? And put what he said in about it, kind of destroying the earth and destroying humanity and all these horrible things. And I wanted to get a kind of a humorous response from the AI to see what it would say back. Long story short, it basically said, I'm a mirror. So all the terrible things you see in me are you.
Jeez.
And I was like, whoa. I mean, it's pretty sharp. And it was meant to be satirical. It's like, if you want to see a better image, work on yourself. Right. And I was like, that's pretty brutal.
And insightful. And you're bearing the lead a little bit, because I've got gifts for you guys that are very aligned with what
really?
with the ChatGPT. Well, I listened to to Serena. So Serena Haynes.
She was awesome, eh?
Yeah. So she's fantastic.
Yeah, go back and listen to that one if you haven't heard it, please. Yeah.
So she's the best. She did TEDx Argyle with me. I had the unenviable task of going right after Serena.
My gosh.
So I walked out on stage, and the biggest laugh I got was when I went on stage, and I was like, I feel like the cigarette after sex right now. Like this.
Inappropriate.
Yeah. So anyway, needless to say, I know that she brought goodies, different goodies.
Oh yes. We had a few in our show.
I'm not gonna. That's not what I'm bringing. But anyway, just a big fan. But anyway,
cool.
part of that gift bag is very related to that ChatGPT snarky answer that I gave.
There you go.
There we go. Cool. I think I know what it is. I know what it is.
Maybe.
I'm guessing.
wow.
I'll guess before you even the gift bag.
Okay.
Cool. Where were we now?
I don't know. We were talking about stuff.
Okay, we're talking about.
Oh yeah.
So Chat. We're here still at the Oxford on Garrison.
It's now Tuesday.
but yeah. So, anyways, I guess the theme of what we've just been saying is all this AI stuff is a tool. And use it. If you use it as a tool for kindness, empathy, trying to find ways to bring people together, as opposed to as what we're obviously all doing now seems to be is going in other directions. It could probably be quite a useful tool. And if you use it as a tool to try to save humanity, then work with it. You might actually get that result.
And imagine if so use it as a tool to save yourself and to get to know yourself. Because what if that same snarky remark to that same gentleman in that thought experiment that you had, where what would you say to the person who doesn't like AI? See that as somebody who has different political views than you.
Yeah.
What you don't like in them is how entrenched they are in their political views, or how unbending they are, or how unwilling to change or compromise or listen.
Right.
Like there's lessons in that I think we can really apply to what we're living through every day. So that
especially now, right? Because I mean, it often leads with discriminate comments one way or the other, and that's what brings us so far apart, because we're seeing people almost actively discriminate against others. Either you're on the right and you might not, you're not intelligent, or something very hurtful, right, is often said about the right, and to the left could be sometimes racist even, right? Like, it's very hurtful on both sides, right? So
if we can find our shared universal language and universal humanity, and if ChatGPT can play a little role in that, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So there you go. Some optimism with ChatGPT. GPT.
now he's adding letters.
I'll never get it right.
Sorry, Andrea, we tried.
We're an hour in. We got 10 questions. Are you ready to get into that?
We're an hour in.
You know what? Actually, just before we do that,
I know we have a lot here, but
I just wanted to just let him talk a little bit about your book. So, because and then we'll move it.
I wrote a book.
You wrote a book.
Yeah.
For children,
or did AI write that for you?
It was before AI. It was before my awareness of AI. I guess so. Here's what I'd say. I threatened for years to write a book, and I tell my kids every night, I love you, I trust you, I'm proud of you. And what I did was I decided to turn that phrase into a story that I can tell my kids, and that maybe everybody can tell their kids, because I recognize that not everybody gets to hear that at night. And
it's kind of your I love you 3000 version of that. I don't know if you're familiar with Iron Man or whatever, if you watch the Marvel movies, but
I'm not familiar with I love you 3000. But
okay, that's the thing in Iron Man. That's what Iron Man.
Did it rip off Stan?
No, it wasn't Stan.
Okay.
It was MCU. So it's like Tony Stark in the when before he died and all that stuff in the Endgame or whatever. That was what he said to his daughter. That's what he and his daughter shared with each other.
3000.
I love you 3000.
There you go.
Yeah.
So let me just. It's my I love you 3000. So essentially, so I wrote this book, and it's a story about a dad who puts his kids to bed. And they're like, oh, I know, you tell us this every night. And then they start pushing back, and they say, well, what if I do this? Or what if I look like this? Or what if I make this decision? Or what if this happens? And the answer is always, well, those are things that you do or say or look like. That's not who you are. I love you for who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so writing the book was this fantastic experience. But you can buy it anywhere, and you go to my website, or you can get it on Amazon or Indigo or anywhere. But one of the coolest things that I've done now is, and in every aspect of my life, is when you go and you do a book reading at the Ronald McDonald House, and you get to sit down and you get to just hang out with some kids that might have just come out of treatment.
Yeah.
And you get to just insert some whimsy, insert some silliness, insert some real life away from all of that nonsense, away from all the noise, away from all the tubes, away from all the tests. And you get to just see them be kids for a little bit.
Yeah.
And you get to read them this story that sometimes they laugh and sometimes they're like, oh, it's heartfelt. And then you get to see their parents see their kids be kids.
Yeah.
Like
that's cool.
Like,
yeah.
Like I walked out of that when I was able to do that at the Ronald McDonald House, and I was like, this is what life is all about right now. So this is kind of to come full circle. I felt like when I left that moment, when I left that reading, or when I left the library in the Valley or in Quebec or wherever I was when I was doing a reading, where you get to see a kid really kind of sink into that message.
Yeah.
That's leading courageously toward love.
Amazing.
And that feels so in line with like my heart, my soul, my purpose.
I love that, man. That's really cool. Cheers to that, dude. Yeah.
It's
They're empty
They're all empty. It doesn't matter.
What about those colors, though?
Yeah. No, the colors are gone. All right.
just like the leaves on the trees.
Okay, Matt. Do you want me to lead these off, or do you want to go?
Start with one. Go
Okay.
ahead.
How
I'll
many
start
of
with
these
one.
did you write, and how many of these are from ChatGPT?
These are mostly by me. Full disclosure, I started with ChatGPT, and then I started to kind of tailoring them, and then by the end of the hour, they were pretty much all rewritten.
Okay, perfect.
But started with the thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Start with AI. Just say AI.
I just don't want to say it anymore. I'm saying
AI.
it. Okay. So your recent TED Talk was largely about bridging divides between people through some things. I didn't write them very well. Your recent TED Talk was about bridging divides between people. So, do you butter your toast before or after cutting it?
Before.
Okay.
No judgment.
No judgment.
Not tons of judgment. Who the hell butters their toast after cutting it?
Oh, I butter it before.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Somebody might.
There's probably some afters out there.
Yeah, listen, you do you. It doesn't affect me at all.
It doesn't
it's
affect
not something that I would do.
I think it's weird, but I mean, like, you're right. It doesn't affect me. If you want to have crappy toast, go for it, right? You know?
Yeah. So we're not going to hate on people that
Who would've thought the toast would
that
have triggered me
choose
like
to
that,
cut their
but-
toast first, Matt.
You
We're
got
just
really
going
heated about
I was
that.
just like, that's the dumbest thing in the world.
The whole point of this was to not get too angry at the people that choose to cut their toast first, Matt. You missed the
That
whole.
I missed
You missed
completely.
the whole point of this
Yeah,
exercise. We're trying to bridge people together.
For those of you listening that aren't watching audio, Matt, who freaked out about the toast, is not Matt, the guest who did the TED Talk.
yeah,
about
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
Let's just
exactly.
be clear about that.
Yeah, like as I said, do what you wish.
Is that what you said?
Do as you wish. People can live their lives. Just,
Awesome. Okay.
I have a better way.
Great. Great answer. Yeah, you're building that bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, your turn.
Okay. So if your company, P4G, had a cartoon mascot, what would it be?
We do have a cartoon mascot.
Oh, really?
Yep. And it is a lovable blue humanoid style.
I did not see this. I was researching too.
Oh, it's deep in the archives.
Okay.
I think we had to. So his name is Namu.
Okay. What is it?
Which is human backwards.
Okay.
We'll see if we can dig it up in the archives. We realized that a lot of the work that we do is in the we call human dynamics what like the industry calls human resources, and we realized that having a mascot that doesn't have any pants on, like not in a sexual weird way, but having a no pants mascot as an animated character is probably not something that is
doesn't kick the corporate
appropriate from that perspective. So anyway, Namu, the wonderful blue cuddly humanoid style thing.
Very cool. Okay. You wrote a children's book called I Love You, I Trust You, I'm Proud of You. How do you think you could translate this message so it could be used in today's workplace?
Segue. Can I do a segue to that? Because
Yes.
I think that there is always an opportunity for somebody's confidence, somebody's contribution to come when they feel that sense of of self-love.
Okay.
So as far as how it can be translated into today's world, I know that the podcasts that I listen to are around an hour and 15. So maybe we won't get to the actual gift giving component, but full disclosure, you're both getting books. You're both getting stickers, and you're both getting mirrors.
Stickers.
I knew we were getting mirrors. That's the thing I guessed, because you said about the mirror to yourself thing to me yesterday.
Exactly. So
wasn't that Stuart Smiley on SNL?
What? Insider information.
Stuart Smiley on Saturday Night Live. Remember that?
I don't follow. No, sorry. What?
Stuart Smiley. I think, I'm pretty sure it was SNL.
I remember Stuart Smiley.
Yeah,
that was Mad TV, wasn't it?
Maybe it was Mad TV. Anyway, he was the guy who used to sit in the mirror, and he'd be like, "You're good enough. You're great stuff, and gosh darn it, you're gonna whatever." Right? Like it was that.
Oh,
guy.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, it's my I Love You 3000 and Stuart Smiley.
Cool.
Everything's recycled. But to answer your question about the workplace, I think if people can find their own voice through self-reflection, through looking in the mirror, through saying, "I love you, I trust you, I'm proud of you."
Yeah.
You know, your contributions are worthy. Speak up in that meeting. Provide that insight. You can contribute to culture change, to impact, to growth, all those kinds of things.
Love the answer. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I like it. All right. So question number 4: pick one fictional character from television or film that you would love to have on your team, and why.
Oh, what a great question.
Mickey Mouse is though, because he has no pants. Or no, he does have pants. Sorry, Donald Duck.
Donald Duck
has no pants.
Okay, so I'm torn between. So probably because of the mustache and because of the general vibe, like the Ted Lasso comes to mind. I talk about Ted Lasso often.
That's right. Yeah.
So just having Jason Sudeikis as Ted Lasso or Jason Sudeikis as Jason Sudeikis would be amazing.
He's pretty great.
I'm going to go deep cut, and I'm going to say Isaac from Sports Night. Look it up. I
don't know who that is, man.
I don't know who that is.
Sports Night is this is this old Aaron Sorkin show that was around in the 90s for
Okay.
it was 3 or 4 episodes, 3 or 4 seasons rather. And Isaac is like the old wise like senior producer. I guess he's the executive director of this like Sports Night, which is like it's third to ESPN and whoever else is as far as the program is concerned. And he's lived so much life, and anyway he's fantastic. So I'm going to go Isaac from Sports Night. Look it up.
Cool answer.
I'll look it up. It sounds like a show I'd actually kind of like.
All right, buddy, go ahead.
No, it's over to you.
Was it me
Question
again?
number 5.
Yeah, okay. If AI takes half of the jobs in the workforce, should AI get a vacation?
I thought you were going to ask me, should AI be buttered first? And I was going to be like, you got to stop with this butter stuff, man. If AI gets half the jobs in the workforce, should AI get a vacation? No.
No. So, okay, interesting. So you don't think we should treat the robots as human eventually?
Well, I didn't say that, and not in that aspect. Not in that aspect. Not in that aspect.
It was
AI,
to our overlords, I disagree.
I know, me too. If you're listening, robots, I totally think you should get a couple weeks off.
I love you. I trust you. I'm proud of you.
Go for a little ride around the sun.
0011.
You guys are great. All right, no, that was a lose-lose question. I'm sorry.
All right, question number 6.
Yeah, go on.
So when you imagine yourself very old, sitting somewhere quietly, what do you see around you?
I see trees swaying. I see like kids and family and community just laughing, playing. I see a lot of love. It's funny because I was talking about this recently. I actually hear more than I see. I think so. I hear like laughter, joy, and love, and insert what that imagery is.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good podcast answer, right?
That's a great podcast answer.
It is a good podcast answer, but also sounds are like a really big thing, and we talked a little bit about sounds with Jenny.
Jenny,
right?
yeah, Jenny Bovard.
And like the sounds that kind of like bring back certain.
Oh man, she had a
memories.
wicked sound, like the sound of a bicycle. So she's visually impaired, right? And she just starred in the first show where she was starring as a visually impaired albino, with like a role like that had never existed before. And she started a show called Pretty Blind. So it was pretty cool. And anyways, yeah, she was her favorite sound was the sound of a bicycle chain going as she's wishing down the street.
Oh, that's
such a cool,
because it brings like it creates the foundation upon which you build your own imagery, right?
A certain nostalgia of freedom or whatever, right? You know, such a cool sound.
I've come to the reason why that hit so much for me with Jenny is because I've come to realize with having a 4-year-old who we don't allow him to have screens, we've come to kind of really realize the power of just listening to things. So instead of getting TV, he has Yoda, which they tells little Marvel stories or Spider-Man stories and stuff like that. Or we'll play Spider-Man stories in the car, and he doesn't watch these things; he listens to them. And what we've learned is that he's just his imagination goes crazy, right? And he's paying attention way deeper than you'd ever think. Like I remember one night he asked me, I said something. He said like, "Oh, this superhero is gonna like beat this bad guy." As I said, "Oh, well, who would win, this superhero or this bad guy?" And he told me the superhero. I said, "Why?" And he says, "Because he has a cloaking power." And I said, "How the does a 3-year-old, 4-year-old know what cloaking is?" But he's paying attention so deeply.
Yeah.
And I said, "What do you think that means, bud?" And he told me. He told me he defined it. And I was like, and then I walked in and talked to my wife and I said, "You know what cloaking is?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "Doesn't count. You're French. Doesn't count." Let me a second. I called my mother, who's in her 60s. "You know what cloaking is?" "No, what's that?" Right? The power of sound.
First of all, okay. Les Français savent des fois qu'est-ce que. Sometimes French people know what cloaking is. Okay,
I know.
So I'll apologize to your wife for that one. But but because the imagination is so limitless, right?
Yeah.
If you can create that, I mean, same thing for my kids. Like reading stories, listening stories. Like my kids are the like oldest kids in Canada. They listen to Stuart McLean Vinyl Cafe stories, and they love them. And it just like creates your own imagery, right?
That's great.
You have limitless capacity for imagination.
Well, when we talked about boredom earlier and how it can like reset things, like I learned through COVID that boredom is a privilege.
Yeah. Great point.
Awesome. Me or you?
So we're on 7. So it's you.
Okay. Finish this sentence. A truly inclusive workplace would finally have
Belonging.
Oh.
belonging.
That was quick.
That was very quick. And
Holy
not a humorous answer I was hoping for.
Yeah.
Pinball.
Unlimited sandwiches. I'd be like, sold.
Unbuttered and buttered halves of toast. Is that it?
All right.
No, but belonging comes up. Yeah, belonging comes up a lot. It's the opposite of fit. I mean, like we talk about it. Brene Brown talks about it. Everybody talks about it. But if you truly feel like you belong, you truly feel accepted as a human, it's being seen and heard.
Cool.
Love that.
Love the answer. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, man.
Number 8. So, where do you imagine humanity will be a century from now?
Where will it be? I think it's going to be in a better place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do. I think we're always learning, growing, evolving, and challenging ourselves. I think that systems and structures will very likely be different. I've got my own thoughts on capitalism that is shared in a lot of different writings out there. But I think that what we're recognizing is that treating each other kindly. Kindness comes up again, right? If we're able to recognize that being there for each other through collaboration, through kindness, is what's most important for us, then maybe creating or allowing for systems that previously existed to reemerge would be cool. So I think it's going to be in a better place.
I like that. I kind of think the same. I think we're in a point of, maybe that's just my optimism, but I think we're at a point now where we're in like the rough patch before things will get a lot better. Yeah.
Let's hope.
Yeah. I think it's starting to, I think that tide is starting to turn a little bit already.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so
go ahead.
I'm so
no. We got to don't worry.
So one of the things that I try to remind myself of is I was watching Seinfeld the other day, and there was this whole episode around this answering machine, and you know how it goes to
believe it or not, George.
Well, it actually it was a different episode about our answering machine.
Oh, really?
For those of you listening at home who are under the age of 25, an answering machine was something that was connected to your home phone, which was where you would go like this.
Yeah.
And so what was so fascinating about it was he did the stand-up bit, and he was talking about the sense of adrenaline that you get when you walk in the door and you see the red light flashing on your answering machine.
Right.
And oftentimes you have messages from people who don't actually want to talk to you. They just want to let you know that they were calling, and they don't want to, and you know, the joke goes on from there. But I realized that that's kind of the rush that you get from a like on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a similar thing where it's a similar like peripheral relationship where you get that adrenaline rush. And, you know, so the reason I bring that up is to say that I don't know how rough the patch is now compared to when that joke was written in the 90s compared to what was happening in the 70s.
Right.
Like, I don't necessarily think it, like, I think there's so much that's going wrong in the world right now that we can see. But there's also there was a bunch of shit that was going wrong in the 90s and previously.
Oh, that's true. There was
rapid change.
Yeah.
But I find great solace in that, to be like, you know what, maybe we aren't just like we're not like the first ones to take a step on the moon. Like maybe we're not as unique from that perspective. Maybe there is a little bit of history not repeating but rhyming.
Question number 9. Because it's Movember and you have a great mustache, you truly do. Okay.
Been growing it for 7 years.
What's one good practice you'd like to share about mustache hygiene?
German face cream. Why Germany keeps coming up?
German face cream.
So there's this German face cream called Welda. So Welda.
Okay.
Because I get really dry like here,
So do
and I
I.
get really dry in my mustache.
Yeah.
Like skin.
Yeah, I think that's normal. Yeah.
And so I use this moisturizer called Welda, and it's fantastic. It kind of smells a little bit like grapefruit, I've been told.
Okay.
Cool.
So and hey, you know what? You can moisturize and have a mustache and still be a dude.
Awesome.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
But you got to be careful because it also is like it's a thing about yay big. And I may or may not have had a sleepover with my nephews when they were over, and they may or may not have commented on how bad our toothpaste tasted, and they may or may not have used Velda toothpaste / face cream. So, yeah, so
That's hilarious. Does it taste like grapefruit?
based on my nephew, I would say no.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry for telling that story on a podcast.
Question number 10. So, band or artist? Which band or artist would you love to see in concert the most, dead or alive?
That's such a tough one. We were talking yesterday about Spotify and about how I'm the same way with regards to music all over the spectrum. I've gotten to see some really cool bands. Like one of the coolest experiences I got to see was The Wall. And it was just a wonderful experience. So I've gotten to see some really big things, Peter Gabriel and all kinds of like big bands and stuff. I'd love to see Coldplay. I'd love to like experience something big like that. But I'm gonna bring it down to like the most simplest thing, and I'm gonna say like a 1A and 1B. 1A, John Baptiste.
Okay.
1B, Tom Waits.
Oh man,
Tom Waits.
I'm a big Tom Waits fan. Yeah.
In like a dingy jazz club bar,
Underground
just along
basement
for the ride.
Yeah.
Oh my
Piano.
God!
Yeah.
I think I'm more of a Tom Waits fan than a Tom Waits music fan.
Oh really?
The guy himself was just a character,
Oh, man.
and every interview I ever saw with him, I'm just kind of like, man, that guy. I
was
would
the
like to
best-
spend one night with that guy.
best
'cause it must have
conversationalist
been
ever.
nuts.
Have you ever seen the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus?
No, I haven't.
Oh
Is he
my
in that?
God! So
I know he's been in other
he
stuff.
plays the devil.
Really?
So
Oh.
that was so you're a comic book guy. So that was Heath Ledger's last movie. Heath Ledger died making that movie, and they rewrote the script, and they brought in like Colin Farrell and Jude Law and stuff
Make all
to
these
double
different
in.
mirrored versions of
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
And Tom Waits plays the devil, which is like, of course, Tom Waits plays the devil.
Yeah.
And it's a trip. It's great. We're heading into a long weekend, so maybe that's what I'll be watching with Megan this weekend.
It's great.
Great answers, man. Awesome. Well, that concludes our 10 questions. You did a great job. That's the hardest part's over. We have one last thing. We just like to call it the last call. So we ask every guest this question. What's one piece of advice you were given in your lifetime that you'd just like to share with our listeners today?
I already used the hands are for helping thing from my mom. Okay. I'm going to go with lucky enough to have stumbled upon a mentor, and she came in and spoke with with myself and our team a few years ago, and she said that she was looking around and she said, I see a lot of wide open hearts in this room and a lot of people who want to do really good. And what you need to remember is that wide open hearts need big fucking fences.
Whoa.
All right.
Was not expecting that quote from you, dude.
And that really resonated with me because I recognize that similar to you and your AI agent, that oftentimes you can give so much that you give yourself away, and you need to recognize that you need to love yourself and build those fences to be able to protect yourself in order to be your best self.
Awesome answer. Yeah. Perfect quote. I love it. Thank you so much for having a beverage with us and hanging out. Anything you want to just kind of plug for the last minute?
I didn't even have to eat hot wings, and I get to say that?
No, go ahead.
This is like a hot ones thing.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you so much for doing what you're doing, for being able to have conversations with folks and allow for them to have their voices heard, because I think that's the best thing that we can do. It's what I strive to do in life through work, through P4G, through the book. Watch the TED Talk, find something that inspires you, and here's what I'll plug. If you made it to this far in the episode, reach out to somebody in the next hour or two. Just say, hey, thinking about you.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Thank you so much.
That.
Awesome episode.